is Andy Lewis. I'm 28 years old. I spend most of my time adventuring. Sometimes it's such intense mental focus required to walk the line that you can't think of anything else. You learn how to be so focused that eventually it doesn't take any focus. You can just walk the line. It's like ground again. And you enter this state that I like to call the matrix, where it's like a flow state. You're in the moment. You're not thinking about bills, taxes, finishing the line even. You're not even thinking about that. You're just on this step, that step, this step, that step. Moab is a little desert town. It's highly Mormon. It's out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert, where you can drive 20 minutes and be entirely lost. And that is why I live here. Moab is the final frontier for adventure. It's one of the only places where you can actually go out and adventure still. This is my backyard slackline, and I walk on it most days, and today I'm doing some tricks, balancing, getting warmed up for our day. Welcome to my slack life. Beginning of the slack life philosophy started with my mountain board crash, really. I was 17, crashed my mountain board really hard, almost died, went to the hospital, and was laying there in the bed, and I reflected on how little I had lived life. I hadn't done anything. I woke up out of that unconscious state, and I was like, God help me, I will do something with my life before I die. Slack in relative terms means no tension. It means that it's wobbly. The word slack itself, like a slacker or somebody who doesn't put as much effort into something, or to give someone slack is to, like, if someone makes a mistake, you just forgive them and let them try again because they did one more mistake. I will push myself to the death trying to push these sports. And for the last couple of years, I honestly was planning on dying. That's how intense I was. Good. Over the last year and a half, I kind of looked down at my watch and looked at my calendars, and I was like, wow, I'm not dead. Everybody makes such a big deal out about all this stuff. Realize life is important, it's unique, and enjoy it. And don't feel bad about that. Don't feel bad about enjoying your life. Hiking up to the bump right now. The little base jump that's close to my house. And then through some awesome stuff. 3, 2, 1. Everything that you do is just part of the game. Everybody has an opinion on what I do. Okay, here I come. So everyone's constantly telling me what they think about what I've done. Nobody supports what I do. Nobody. From like the dangerous base jumps that I do to the crazy free solo high lines, it's like there are a handful of people who support me. A handful out of the billions on the planet. Nobody can support it because, yeah, I can die. Ooh, it's a beautiful way to start the day. A little bit of coffee, a little bit of free fall, a little bit of hiking, a little bit of climbing, and on to the next task. There we go. We always say thank you, Cliff. Thank you, base gods, for letting us safe jump. People are so afraid of living their own lives now that they turn to TV so they can live fantasies through other people's lives. I don't want that. I don't. I think that's bullshit. Face your fears. Do something about it. Stop complaining. I see all this stuff happen. I see people dying. I see how important life is, and other people don't. And then they go, how do you ever risk your life? And you're like, how do you waste so much of your life? Waterlining is kind of different from highlining, but it's kind of not, because you have the fear of falling still. It's not over the ground. You're still falling past the line. So waterlining is a great way to train highlining, because you have weird visual reference points. You do fall past the line. You have the fear of falling, and that's why waterlining is so cool. Waterlining is one of the best and the coolest ways to slackline. It makes sense. Water line over a pool, water line over the ocean, water line over a lake. It's just beautiful. It's awesome. Late November of 2011, I get a phone call saying, hey, do you want to do a show for a person I can't tell you about for an amount of money we can't discuss, yet the time frame is 2 months long? And I was like, I don't do business like this. I'm sorry, no. And I hung up the phone. 5 minutes later, I get a call from my boss saying, you realize you just turned down the Super Bowl with Madonna? And I was like, no, I didn't realize any of that because he didn't tell me any of that. 2 days later, long story short, I was on a plane in New York. And I stayed there for 2 months, and I did the Super Bowl with Madonna. After the show, she offered me to go on tour with her. I'm perfectly on track, perfectly everything is going in my life, and she wants me to make a complete 180, drop all of my goals, and go on tour with her to be Madonna's tightrope. If I was going to give Madonna my heart and my soul and my life for a year, I wanted at least $1 million. She didn't want to give me that much money. She thought it was an unfair amount of money. I know it's a little unfair amount of money, but I also think it's a little unfair what you're asking me to do. That's a problem in the world today, that you cannot die an honorable death. Death is always tragic. It's always a loss. It's always negative. And it's not always negative. Life is here to live. People are afraid. They're so afraid all the time. Fear, 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 fear. We're ready to go. When you're focusing 100 feet above the ground, you've put many, many, many days, many hours, many tries, attempts, failures into the line before you're there. It's not that you just get up onto a 100-foot line and try it. That's not how it works. First, you learn how to focus for one step. Then you learn how to focus for a few steps. Then you learn to focus to walk across your first line. And then eventually you can train yourself, you get more comfortable, you can push your boundaries. Then you have the ability to focus on a 100-foot high line. It doesn't just happen. When you hike out there, the first thing you need to make sure of is that your anchors are good, so that if anything goes wrong, you're not going to die, because we're in a very, very, very risky environment. So you have to make sure that your anchors and your backups are good. Then, once you have your anchors and backups ready, you can rig them, and you can start getting your line across. And getting your line across is one of the most difficult things in slacklining. On a very short gap, you can try to throw your line across, but even a 50-foot gap is really hard to get your line across sometimes. And then once you get your line across, once you get your backup rope there, you've got to get the tension right. You've got to get your line the right sag. You've got to get the rope the right sag. If you get your rope too tight and your line too loose, you can walk on the rope and it feels really strange. If you get your line too tight and your rope is too loose and your line breaks, you might hit the ground or your rope might shock load and you might break it. And that's all clouding your mind. Everything is clouding your mind. You know, is it going to be windy, rainy? Is there lightning? You know, all of these things, they're all questions that you have to answer when you go out there. Slacklining is super personal. From how you walk your line, to which lines you walk, to how much tension you put in it, to the style that you're walking the line on, and which line you're walking. Is it one of your lines? Is it your longest line? Is it the world's longest line? It all depends on how you feel when you cross the line. If I walk a 20-foot high line that I've walked 100 different times and I walk across it, it's not that I feel happy, it's not that I feel sad when I walk it, it's just a line. But if I walk my personal record on a line that I'm dedicating to one of my heroes, I get to the other side and it's the most unbelievably satisfying thing ever to step off the line onto the other side. And that satisfaction, that feeling of conquering not the line, but yourself, facing your own fears, that is what makes it so unbelievably satisfying. Slack Life is definitely my greatest success ever. Showing people, look, you can follow your dreams and you can be successful in your life. So do that, or try. Holding the world record high line at a a certain time, or being 5-time trick lining world champion. All those things are just benefits. They're just pluses to my life. What I truly appreciate daily is how many people have changed their lives because of the things I've done.